It's time for us to review, finally, Baldur's Gate 3. We have been playing this game a lot, some of us more than others, but it's amazing. We'll talk about that later. Austin, how much time have you put into it, you think?
I got at least 50, if not more.
50 hours?
Yeah.
Damn, that's nice.
Yeah.
And then, Jason, you have not played it yet because you're afraid.
Zero. I am
to
so
consume
terrified.
your life.
Get out. You're done.
Okay,
Yep.
I'll get it.
And then, Joe, you have beat it.
I've beaten it. I've played enough for both myself and Jason.
There we go. There we go.
All right. Fair enough.
As of last night, I think I had 150 something hours clocked in. But that's me going through the game, playing multiplayer with other people, starting new characters. So it's a combination of all that stuff. A single playthrough, though, is probably going to take people 80 to 100 hours.
Easily.
If you're not just like rushing through it, which you shouldn't. You got to
Right.
experience this as a story that it is. And man, it is just so good.
What
It's so good.
classes have you played through so far? And which one's your favorite one?
My main class that I played through the first time with was Cleric, and then Fighter I'm playing as also, which is always fun. Eldritch Knight Fighter, so we can use magic.
Ooh, nice.
A Necromancer I'm playing on one of my runs, on my evil run, because summoning the dead is always fun. And Wizard is also a really good one. Well, I mean, Necromancer is a chain off of the Wizard class. And
Is that the subclass?
Yeah, it's a subclass of Wizard. Yeah, there's just so many good ones. Barbarians, super fun. If you want to just throw people around, if you have a companion who is a halfling or a gnome, you can literally pick them up and throw them as a barbarian. So if they need to get like up somewhere, you're like, here, come here. I'm going to throw you up on top of this cliff.
Didn't know that was a
I
thing.
thought you meant like throw them as a weapon. Like,
Oh, you could do that.
I have
too.
nothing.
You
Oh,
probably
seriously?
could,
Yeah, you can throw them into somebody and knock them down.
Yeah.
But everyone takes damage at that point.
Everybody takes a little bit of damage, but I
It's
think
worth it.
the person you hit will go prone. So it's like, is it worth it? Maybe.
It's worth it.
I was playing with Travis and Sarah, and Sarah's playing a druid, so she turned into a cat.
Yes.
And we're back at camp, so I go and pick her up, and I was about to throw her. She's like, no, don't throw me.
Oh, I would have threw that kid so fast.
But that's what's like. There
Two
are
health,
some.
so it's like, oh, she's gonna die.
There are some small areas that like only either small races or people who can turn into things like cats or whatever can sneak through. So it's
Yeah.
like if you're just a bunch of big dudes or whatever, you can't go in these areas. Like they're cut off from you. But it's not like somewhere you have to go. It's like sometimes it'll be a shortcut to a different thing. Sometimes it'll just be like a treasure room or something. So it's like there's advantages to having different ways to do different things. And like wizards can turn into gaseous form, which means they can just turn into gas and kind of go through these things.
Like a misty step almost.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's insane.
So favorite one so far?
Favorite class so far? Oh, that's so hard to say.
I want to get this answer.
Because I know the moment that I go home and start a new character and be like, oh, this is my new favorite class. You know what?
I got one if you need more time.
Okay, yeah, you go first.
So I like the fighter.
Well, how many classes have you been playing as so far?
Well, when you technically play as, because you have other
Well, yeah, I know you
characters
have
with
other
you.
ones, but as your main,
Let's
like,
go through the
Well, I was
classes.
okay. Go ahead.
So
Wait,
okay.
actually, hang on. Sorry. Before we do that, I want to like preface like what Baldur's Gate
sure,
is.
sure, sure.
Yeah,
before,
Didn't we already preface it?
no, we haven't yet.
Dang.
In case you didn't listen
Okay,
to
well,
last
fuck
podcast,
it.
you know,
Yeah.
just say that.
This could be
the
someone's
show.
first
No,
podcast.
because this is going to go on YouTube, so therefore,
Oh, okay,
you know,
I gotcha,
it's like
I
they
gotcha,
may
I
not have
gotcha.
seen a video.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so people watching the show, Baldur's Gate 3 is a story-rich, party-based RPG. This is a CRPG in some ways, unless you play it on console. Then it's, I guess, like still a
Console starts with C.
Yeah, it's still starts with C. It's fine. But this is set in the universe of Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm sure everybody is realizing what this game is, but I did want to preface, just in case you didn't know, but in this game, your choices shape a tale of fellowship and betrayal, survival and sacrifice, and a lore of absolute power. So that's where we are. That's the setup. Now we can talk about classes.
All right.
And I have beaten it, but I'm not going to spoil anything past like the first act. And even that, I'm going to do a light spoils
Okay.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
anybody who doesn't know. Okay. And this is also like part of the Forgotten Realms campaign of D&D for any nerds who want to know that,
So
like myself.
I remember last time we were talking about this. So it is most definitely connected to the lore of D&D. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah,
meant to
the Forgotten
verify.
Realms campaign, which is like years and years of source books and stuff,
Okay.
but that's the area of D&D that it's focused on.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So from top to bottom, you've got barbarians, bards, clerics, druids, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard. That's the main classes. But then there are subclasses for everybody. I think if you're counting all the subclasses together, there are a total of 48 classes you can be.
It is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Sounds like D&D.
I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I want to be
exactly.
this class. And it's like, oh, now I can branch out. Take it, which is the best.
Basically, however you want to play this game, you're able to. If you just want to go through it without combat at all, which for the most part you can, play a bard. Like you can talk anybody out of anything or charm them into not fighting you, or sometimes fighting, like killing all the other enemies for you. Like there are so many, or if you just want to go all in, be a fighter or something, or a barbarian, and then you're just like a brute who's going in and taking everybody out. Druids, you can play the kind that just transform into bears or wolves or whatever, or you can just play the kind that casts nature magic, or even spore magic, which is like the dark druid sort of that raises like the undead as kind of like fungus people, and they work for them.
That
Was cool.
Oh no, on yours.
Oh, yeah,
It was
yeah.
on yours. I've been playing. Yeah, I got Druid, Paladin, which I barely played, and then the Ranger. And surprisingly, I'm not liking the Ranger like I do actually playing D&D,
Oh, interesting.
because I feel like I do more damage there on like tabletop.
Yeah.
Are you playing the Beastmaster role, or what are you doing?
I think so.
Okay, so
I
like
can't
your
remember.
pet is like your main kind of focus.
Yeah. Just so they can get out there and take aggro and always
Yeah.
summon the bear.
So
Okay.
you're like a
Beefy.
Pokemon trainer.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm only limited. But I when I play Lizelle, the fighter, I feel like I've gotten her.
You play Lizette the fighter?
Exactly. I've gotten her to a good spot where she can get in there. She can do potentially 5 different attacks at one time. Because as you get to like level 3 or 4, you get an extra attack.
And bonus action on top of that attack, and then she can set off her what is the thing?
She has not second one. Anyway, she can refill her. She could do her 2 attacks and then do a bonus action to do 2 more attacks. And then if I have a sword, I can hit them with the
Oh, yeah.
the
hilt?
handle. Yeah. And then she has a vase of footwork, so during that time she's waiting to her next turn, she can basically dodge anything. So she's just sitting there. Oh, and then I just got something else where if they miss, I get to have a free attack.
Oh, nice. Was that one of the
And-
feats?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's another one I have. Anyway, I was like, she's kicking ass.
So fighter is your favorite.
I like her so far.
Yeah.
Fuck, I want to get this game.
I'm telling you, get it, man.
You're so in depth, man.
What's cool is just like however you want to play it, like pick a class based on that. Because if Austin just wants to like rush in and fight people, then a fighter, yeah, it's the obvious choice because they're going to be the best at that. But if you want to hang back, then a ranger probably would suit you better. Or if you want to be a stealthy class, rogue, absolutely, because stealth is so powerful in any game, really. But it's great because
Watching you play stealth was
it's cool,
mind
like,
blowing. So I didn't know how to play a rogue, and you play Astarian, and I just sent him in there like normally. But you're over here like sneaking around, hiding. They lose you, and you go in there like backstab.
Yeah,
like,
because then
massive
you can do your
damage.
sneak attack
Sneak
and
attack.
sneak attack, and you can even do sneak attack with advantage, any kind of advantage. You don't have to be hidden to do it. If somebody casts True Strike on an enemy, then you get advantage on them, so you can sneak attack them while completely visible.
Yeah.
And that's going to do like double damage or triple damage or whatever it does. And so you can take people out super easily with that, but that's not everybody's play style. Like some people don't like to sneak around. But if you just want to cast magic, there's 3 different magic classes for this. There's sorcerer, there's wizard, and there's warlock, and all of them work completely differently. If you want to be an intelligent caster, that's where wizard comes in. If you want to be a caster based on charisma, then that's where warlock or sorcerer come in. Sorcerer is able to kind of tune their spells better to be like, okay, I want this spell to have meta magic where it hits 2 people instead of just 1. As a warlock, you have a patron, so it's like you're kind of dedicating yourself to a demon of some sort, and they are part of the story too now. So as a warlock, you're having to like talk and make deals with your patron during the story as a part of it, because they're the ones providing you with your magic. Basically,
I just my now permanent solo player character is a warlock I just created last night.
Yeah.
So I'm going the fiend route warlock thing or whatever, and I just wanted to use Eldritch Blast because I've never used Eldritch Blast before.
Is amazing.
And the thing, and then so like when I first started in the first level, I was like weak as shit. And then I was when I went to level 2, there was an upgrade I can get that when I cast Eldritch Blast, it adds my charisma modifier to it. So it does 1 through 10 instead of 1 through 10. I think my charisma was +3. So then it adds 3 damage.
So it's
to
doing
that.
like 4 through 13.
Wow. Yeah, and it's an 18-meter range shot. That's just a direct shot at something. And I have another ability that I can cast like disadvantage, or I know it's a hex. So I can throw a hex on somebody, and I can choose what I want to give them disadvantage on. So I can be like wisdom, intelligence, charisma, whatever. And you can just cast that. Like sometimes you can cast it multiple times without using a spell slot. So I was just like, holy shit, this is awesome. I can just sit back. As long as you don't get close to me, that's the part I'm trying to figure out is like how to make sure they don't come towards me when you have like, because I don't have my full party yet with that character. So I'm like playing with like 2 people and stuff like that. So I have my Shadow Heart lady who's like walking around and she's like trying to like heal and stuff like that. But then the other one I found, I was like, I'm going to jump up on this hill and then it'll give me like a couple of rounds for them to get to me and I can just cast Eldritch Blast at them.
Nice. Does it push them back too?
It does after you get to level 3. I unlock an ability that when I hit Eldritch Blast, it'll push them back like 4 meters.
Nice.
So that's an optional thing you can put onto Eldritch Blast too. Of course, you're sacrificing something else.
Yeah.
And as a warlock, you also choose what kind of tomb or something you want, where you can either be a weapon, I can't remember, a sword warlock or something where you bound a weapon to yourself and your charisma modifier is added to it instead of your strength. So you're attacking with a weapon that's bound to you in that way. You can be like a tomb warlock that gets like extra spells. You can be like I can't remember what it's called, but it has like the demon pets with it or an imp or something. So you're more
it's a little imp you can have run around with you, which is kind of cool too. Yeah. So
that was playing the NPC companion warlock and we're on a bridge.
Which one was that? Will?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got on the side of the bridge where there was a hole, or he was on the opposite side, and I went Eldritch Blast. He went,
yes. Yeah, the push one's great.
Screw you.
Yeah.
Like last time Joe was on the podcast and I was here, we were talking about Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And after like listening to him talk about Elden Ring, I bought Elden Ring and played it. Now he's talking about this, and I'm like, it's in my cart now, and I'm thinking about buying it.
It's in your cart already?
It's in my cart right now. I just put it on
PC?
Steam.
Yeah, okay,
PC.
good.
So my question is, before I like make the purchase, what is bad about the game? Like what is something that you guys like, all 3 of you like officially like do not like besides the crossplay and all that jazz?
I think there's a lot of, you kind of fell a lot, but then that's the whole point is like you learn and get better.
Well, that's normal.
And I think there's a lot of, for me, there was a lot of like lag time with that. It's like, oh, I went to battle not at my best and I had to like play it over. There was one battle I literally had to play over like 10 times until the game actually messed up. And when I reloaded my save, the guy was already dead. Like the battle ended. I was like, I didn't even get to play the battle.
Okay, I mean that seems like a really like small chance of something like that happening. I will say, like as far as the bad goes, I'll get that out of the way. Like it is kind of buggy still, and especially in the later chapters. First chapter pretty clean because that was
I hear that
was
lot.
early
That was early
access
access.
tested for like 3 years. So yeah, that's like super cleaned up.
Yeah.
Act 2 a little buggy, but Act 3 that's where it's like okay, I can see that they haven't had a whole lot of time to clean this one up yet. It's fine. I got through it. I think I only crashed once throughout my entire playthrough, so that's like really good.
Yeah.
But there are times where like I had a druid companion, and then he was in bear form, and he, as I was talking to somebody, he just walked in front of us, and all I could see was a big mass of fur as I'm having this conversation. So sometimes some of those things will get a little like glitchy. It's not game breaking in any way, but it's just funny stuff like that will happen sometimes.
Yeah.
But they did do a patch recently that fixed a lot of that stuff because there were also
fixes in this
1,000
patch.
fixes.
Holy hell.
There were also like sometimes in a conversation you'll just see a cup floating around like behind someone. It's like why is this cup just levitating? But again, I think a lot of those were fixed. As far as just pure gameplay, I don't think there's anything I don't like about it. It's difficult, but it's meant to be. As such, I mean, you can set it to a lower difficulty, but even then, I've watched some people play it on that one, and it still had trouble with it. So it's not hand-holdy. It's just a little bit less pressure.
I dropped it down to on my single playthrough. I dropped it down to the beginner mode or whatever, and the only difference that I noticed is it just gives you more HP. So I started out with 10 HP per character, and then it doubles it to 20 at the starting character. but I still died in the first round with playing these little freaking brain creature things in the very early part.
Like
so
it doesn't make it
still, it
the
doesn't make
enemies
it
like stupid or anything.
Yeah.
You just get a little bit more padding.
Yeah, they have the same health. You get
Yeah.
a little bit more health, and that's how they kind of compensate.
So that one's like story mode or something like that. Balanced mode is like the middle ground. That's what I played. I think tactical or tactician mode is the hardest one. I don't know if I'm smart enough to do that because there's a lot of tactics that go into this, and I want to be able to. I don't want to have it to where like if I make any mistake, I'm screwed the whole time. That's what I feel like tactician will be, and that's for really smart people. And I praise anyone who can do that, but I don't know that I'm one of those people. So I would recommend playing it on balanced. And if you're having a lot of trouble, just like Brett said, like switch it down to story, and you'll be fine.
So you can switch it down at
Anytime.
in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up and down. So it doesn't matter when or how
If you feel
do
like
it.
it's too easy, switch it up. If you like it's too hard, switch it down. Yeah, but balance I think is a really good because there were a lot of battles like I had to do them a couple times because it's like, well, I approached this wrong or whatever. But it wasn't any as you autosave or quick save, like you can go back a couple quick saves. You don't have to go back to the one you just did. If like in Austin's case, like you got stuck in a battle or something, just go back a couple saves. Unless it was hours ago, it's whatever. But
save often.
I will say
save often.
Yeah, I was going to say to talk about negatives, there's 3 negatives to this game that I've discovered so far. One is that the autosave is very unforgiving. So you have to make sure you save manually a lot. And I will forget often. Like I played an hour and a half last night and was just in the zone and then forgot. And I went up to, actually this is still early in the game, but I went to the mind flare thing that you encounter that's like half dead on the ground. Yeah. And didn't think, last time I played him, I went up and persuaded him to did the persuasion or whatever to get him to not kill me or not eat me or whatever. So this time I tried to do it and I failed my check badly. So he kissed me and killed my main character. And I hadn't saved since I fell on the ground. And I'd already gone through a bunch of shit down there. I was like, fuck. And it was like permadeath. So I had to go back to an old save because it was just my character was dead.
No, it's not. There's no permadeath. You can res yourself.
I didn't have any of this stuff that's true. I would have to get back to the camp and then go to the guy and pay the money. I don't want to do all that. So I was like, I'm just going back to the save. But that was the one thing is the saving. You got to really be conscious of saving.
Yeah, just be conscious. And once you go through it, like you'll start doing, just hit F5.
Yeah,
F5 is a quick save, done. You don't have to go to the menu and save every time or anything like that.
That didn't
F5.
Yeah,
F5 your best friend.
is super. Yeah.
F5, F8. F8 is quick load, F5 is
These
quick
are not really negatives. These are just like nitpicks, honestly.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So there's really
I got two more nitpicks real quick. So inventory. So much inventory. It's insane.
I'm going to give you a recommendation.
Thank you.
For inventory.
Tell me.
Okay, for inventory, I know like you'll see those backpacks or pouches on the ground. Pick those up because you can put things inside of those backpacks. You can have as many backpacks as you want. So that way you can have like a backpack for your scrolls, a backpack for your potions. Then you know which one you open that. Otherwise, just a mess of stuff.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
Does the inventory weigh you down at all?
It does.
Okay.
There is encumbrance, and the more strength you have, the more you can carry. So you're going to want your fighter characters to carry your heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But you can also, what's great is like you can, like if you hold shift and just like click on whatever, then it will select all the items, and then you can right click and just send them to your camp. You don't have to like take them back to camp. Just send them to camp and they'll be there.
Oh, that's nice.
For you to sell later or something.
It helps out a lot.
No.
So inventory.
Third and final thing.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, so inventory.
Save.
Yeah, it was a little annoying at first, but once you get used to it, you're like, okay, there's all these things I can do to mitigate the problems I'm having.
Okay. That's smart. I forgot about the backpack thing. I definitely want to try that. The third thing is just that there's just so much to this game. It's all good content.
Yeah,
it's so bad.
Good problem now.
Like, why is this game so shitty? It's so much good content.
The worst thing is that it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. Like after my first playthrough, I immediately wanted to go back and start over because I knew my next run would be completely different from my first one because I'm going to make different choices. If I'm a different class, you get class like dialogue options. Like I was a cleric, so I was getting a lot of like cleric of tier options where it's like this is what my god would say kind of stuff, and they respond to those things in unique ways. So it's like no matter what class you're playing, how you're going through it, like whether you're doing like neutral, good, bad, whatever, it's going to play differently. Supposedly there are like 13,000 endings. That seems like a stretch, but maybe with all the like
all the subtle nuances, I could see there being a lot.
Yeah.
So my next question, like, let's say I get this game and I invite you guys to my party. You can't bring your own character into my party. You have to create a new one.
Correct.
And those characters are locked with my party.
Yeah. So you want to start like a single player game for yourself and then a multiplayer game with friends. It's kind of like having a D&D session, basically.
Okay.
That was their
That makes
idea
sense.
behind it.
Okay.
Is like you're not going to have like all the time to dedicate to doing this campaign all the time. So just wait until your friends can all get together and continue your current campaign.
And what I like also about this is like, so for example, I have a campaign right now with Austin and Joe.
Yeah.
And they have characters in my game. But I can play with Austin or I can play with Joe, and then we just control either person's character as an AI while they're not here. So it's not like I have to have them there.
You have to have them there.
Yeah, I don't have to.
What happens
so
if that character gets killed off and you just like...
You can revive them.
you can revive them.
Yeah, there's-
you spend gold to bring them
gold
back
to
to
bring 'em
life.
back.
Yeah.
You don't have to revive people. And that's like,
that's true.
there are times where in the story, and I'm not going to say who, but like, and it's going to be different for everybody. Like some of my characters died for story reasons or just left the party because they're like, I don't like the way you handled that. I'm leaving.
Yeah, I
and they're
heard
just,
about that.
it'll tell you like, they're gone permanently. They're gone for good. You cannot bring them back. So your choices matter. And you could keep all the party members, I'm sure, but there are also some where you're going to, people have different kind of mentalities when it comes to the choices that you're making.
Click it, man. Click it.
I'm gonna keep talking about it until you click buy.
He's
there
on
you
the
go.
purchase for myself.
how much this thing?
Look, really, the only negative I found was that it kind of lags sometimes in between the story bits, which is
Oh, really?
fine. And what you
Interesting. Yeah.
expect, I mean, you got to get through certain things. You get sidetracked to do side quests. And for me,
I think you meant like the game, like performance lag. But you just mean like,
Oh, no,
the,
like actual
like
storytelling.
game. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah. Like I felt like it's really strong early on. And you get through like it's quick to go to the druid camp and there's drama there. And then you go to the goblin camp and there's drama there. And
Oh man,
it's just all this stuff is like really good at some points, but then like it kind of falls off where I'm at right now.
I don't know where you are exactly, but Act 2 is
I got
such.
to the Githyanki camp.
Okay, you're still pretty early. Act
Yeah,
2
it's not
is
that
so
much fun.
epic. Like it could have ended the game there and been like, we'll release more later in different chapters, and I would have been satisfied because it is so epic, the scale of it. And then you're like, oh, there's more after this, after this
hell.
thing I just did.
So in Act 3, is that when you go to the big town? Baldur's
That's when you
Gate?
go to actual Baldur's Gate.
Okay, and
then I
apparently
thought
that
that was
thing
going to
is
be short,
gigantic.
but that was probably the longest chapter. Is like because you're there and all these surrounding areas, and you're doing so much in that town that it's like, wow, I had no idea it was this expansive.
kinda wild.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard.
So, final question.
Yeah.
In-game content. Is there like more stuff to do after you beat it? Because you said you restarted campaign and all that jazz, or once you beat it, this is it.
Once you beat, there's not really in-game content. Once you beat it, like that's it. But I would challenge you to try to not play it again after you go through it, and then think about the choices that you didn't make, and be like, okay, I'm gonna go back and make these
I'm gonna
choices.
need a notebook or something.
Yeah,
I need a recap.
yeah. Because like I'm just gonna say like at the
your
very
playthrough.
beginning that you were talking about with the druids and the goblins, like you can choose to side with either the goblins or the druids or somewhere in between. And so that's like a really cool way to just like branch off your story early on.
Okay.
And the decisions that you make affect like the world around you.
Okay.
And there's characters that you're saving along the way that can change everything, or just sacrifice them and change it to something else. And I don't know what these different changes are because I'm not looking any of it up. I'm just going with it as I go. So I know what my playthrough is like, but yours is probably going to be completely different than mine was. And that's what I really appreciate about this game is how much variety there is in it. Even like it's turn-based tactics, so it's not everybody's gameplay style, but I think it flows so well and quickly in this one that I don't think you'll have an issue with it, even if that's not your typical even if you prefer like action-based RPGs usually. I think this one's like a really great version of tactical RPG.
Yeah.
You ready to purchase it?
It's in my cart though.
I know
that helps.
I do want to say like I would encourage everyone not to save scum. And what I mean by that is like there are going to be choices that you have that seem really big. Don't you can, but don't save it before that choice is made so that you can go back if it doesn't go the way you wanted it to. Because then you're changing the story based on what you want, not the dice. You're completely
Live
negating
with your decisions.
Yeah, you're negating the purpose of the dice in general if you're just like crafting it to only success. Because sometimes fun things come out of failures of those dice rolls or different scenarios that get you something better than you thought would have gotten you in the first place. Yeah. There was one mission where this dwarf was trapped between all these like explosive barrels and stuff. And he's like, dude, you got to get me out of here. Like I need to get back to my
guy?
Explosive fungi. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got to get back to my wife. And it's whatever. It's like, okay, well, I don't know how to get you out of there. And then I accidentally did something that blew up all those mushrooms and killed him. I went back to his wife and I was like, oh man, I'm sorry. Like your husband died. I meant to save him. She's like, oh no, good riddance. Like he was a terrible person. I'm glad he's dead. It's like, oh, okay.
So as you know that was actually what was going to happen.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay. So I could have saved him. But that wouldn't have been good for her because she didn't like him anyway. So it's like the good choice in that case was the accident that I made in accidentally blowing him up.
Yeah. That's awesome.
We talked about this because I was like, I'm saving all the time and I always go back if I don't get my right outcome. And
why? That's no fun. That's like if you're playing D&D and you're just asking a DM, like, let me re-roll that D20. Yeah.
Well, see, I like that. I want someone to be like, sorry, this is what you have to live with. I wish in the game it'd be like, you can't just go back. Like you could go back, but you need to go back like way far to come back to this point. Like I want to be like,
self-control comes in.
This is what you have to live with.
You don't need somebody to hold your hand, man.
I know, but it's a game. It's not like real life. Where the choices I make in real life, I can't just go back. But in the game, you have the ability.
Well, the DM,
and that's what everyone wants in life.
Let's
go back and.
That's why I think when Baldur's Gate 4 comes out and they have like an actual like person running it, where you can create your own campaign in the game and have these like your friends come in and you're like, no, you rolled it, you're done.
That'd be nice. That'd be cool. But I have been taking more of your advice after playing with you because we got in the goblin camp and there was a gnome on the windmill, and so. I was like, oh, we should just use the Illithid wisdom, but I didn't say anything to Brett. So like, it's Brett's game. I'll let him decide. Obviously, we had to fight the goblins because he failed his checks to. I forgot what you were trying to do, but
I did fail a check. Yeah. It was like a critical fail too.
Well, like we got in there and it was looking super dire. Like I already know we're gonna have to restart this battle. And normally I've been like, I'm just gonna restart it, like, and then play it again and see how far I get.
Yeah.
But like, it's your game, so I'm not gonna tell you what to do. So I was like, let's just see where we get. And somehow, Joe pulled it out of the bag. He did 32 crit damage to one goblin.
It was a rogue. He was stealthing around because I kept having to like. Part of it was like luck of like, please miss me when you shoot your arrow at me or whatever. But otherwise, it was like, okay, you can see what their line of sight is. If you hold down shift, you can see like the red. So what I would do is on my turn, I would try to walk out of their line of sight and then stealth and walk a little bit more because they know where you are when you first stealth. So if you just stay there, sometimes they'll just come over there.
That's
and
where the little step, shadow character.
The shadow will stay there, but if you move after your stealth, they can't see you obviously. So you're trying to so I just managed to dodge out of the way of everything
on 3 health,
slowly pick them off with 3 health the whole time. And so that was like, some of it was luck, but some of it was just strategy and just trying to get out of there. And that's where it's like, I encourage you.
I purchased it.
Nice.
Live on the podcast.
Just hearing them talk about the rogue, that's what I want to play as. I've been dying to play D&D.
I was the druid.
Yes, thank you.
I was the druid and I was like, there's just no way. Like there was a point where it's like, I can attack, maybe miss. And I didn't know what else. Like that was it. And I was like, just gotta be something to do. And then I was like, oh, I have a speed potion, so it gives me another action, so I could heal.
Oh my god!
I got a chance to heal, which saved me.
Yes.
The next time I got hit, and then I was able to do damage, and I think I killed something.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit! Like I wouldn't have stayed this long to see this play through because I feel like it's a waste of time in my mind because I just want to get to the story bits. I want to succeed, and I guess I'm getting. I kind of get like God of War-ish. It's like, yeah, here's this point. You die, you come back, you get through it, and it's like you're kind of spearheading through the missions, through the levels, get the story, listen to the dialogue, and I find that exciting. And here, it's just kind of like, yeah, you kind of do have to slow down, take the hits.
Yeah, I mean, because the
feel
fighting
the pain.
is part of the story, and the way that
I like
fights,
the fighting. I like the fighting.
The fighting is great, and the way the fights end up can really affect the story. Like there are NPCs, if they die during the fight, they're just gone. But if they survive, sometimes that'll really be a boon to you, and they'll come back and help you later on in some way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And otherwise they're just out of the story completely. And so like crafting, that's why I like say encourage you to just like go with things as they fall, allow things to just happen. If somebody dies, just let them die. If they're a party member, you can bring them back. But if they're an NPC, they're just gone from that world, and you know, who knows how it's going to be affected. It's not going to game over your world. You're going to keep moving.
Yeah.
But that could benefit you or not later on. You don't know. So just let it play and just see what happens. And play with friends when you can, because that's the really fun part. Is just like those exciting times like that is where it gets really cool. Where you have those epic battles where it's like it's looking so bad. There's still like 3 of their little like wargs or whatever. They're dogs that are super powerful. There's 2 goblins left. There's 2 of us. How are we going to do us against 4 people? And we managed. Skin of our teeth. It's great.
So, question on the multiplayer: how many people can play up together? Is it just 4?
4.
Yeah, because 4 is your max party size.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Well, I bought it. It's downloading now.
Hell yeah.
There's 4
left my
spaces,
computer on,
4
so.
of us. Great. We'll start a new party.
I love it.
Yeah.
I want to make a barbarian, so
I
I'm
thought
kind
I
of
might
excited
wanna
about
Make a
this.
rogue.
I thought I might have a problem like playing the game again, but then being able to just like, oh, I want to try this now. Oh, I want to try that now. Like, I don't care if I have to play, you know, the intro
From
level.
the story, from the start again. I've done that a couple of times for that reason. Like when you start, it'll take a minute to get used to it. But once you get used to it, you start strategizing in your head like, oh, what if I'm a rogue, but I take the thief route instead of the arcane trickster route? How will that play out differently?
Yeah. The character sheets in this is just so in depth. Like the amount of customization physically and like as far as like tactically you can do to your character, it's just unreal how much there is to manage and build out. And then as you level up, your character just gets so much more powerful, and you can like, you know, swap out different play styles and things like that too as you evolve further. And it's kind of amazing that, I mean, like you were saying, like a bard, like you can run around and like never having a combat encounter.
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
I would say whatever you play, don't judge your class off the first 3 levels, because you're not really going to know what they can actually do until like level 4 or 5. And that point, they're kind of like set in like you still have a lot more you can do. You go up to level 12 in this game, but you won't really know what you're capable of fully until around level 5, because wizards or spellcasters in general start really badly because they have like 1 spell slot, so you can cast like 1 thing and then only cantrips from that point. But once they level up more, you're casting all kinds of crazy stuff. You're teleporting people all over the map, doing like you can like telepathically grab somebody and throw them at another enemy or something. Or throw an enemy at an enemy. Yeah. Like it's great. All the different things you can do. You can turn somebody into like not a cheese wheel. There's a genie that will turn you into a cheese wheel at some point. So just know that. But there's different things you can turn people. Like I can't remember what it is. Like a sheep or a frog or something. Turn enemies into just a polymorph ability.
Yeah.
But yeah, every class can be fun. Just give it a chance to pan out. Don't judge it off the first few levels. Is my main point.
Yeah.
So how does the story progress through the acts without spoiling too much?
So what I think everybody knows at this point, or what you'll find out in the first like 2 minutes of gameplay, is you have been abducted by illithids, which are Cthulhu's basically, and they have put a worm or a tadpole into your head. And what that's going to do is, in a very alien-like fashion, it's going to spawn another illithid, or it's going to turn you into an illithid. But for some reason, you're not transforming as you would expect to at this point. And so part of the mystery of the game is you with all of these companions you've come across who also have these worms in their head. And so the reason that your party's together is trying to figure out how to get rid of these, or find out why they're in there in the first, or why you're not transforming. And so primary mission, get Slug out of head. Secondary mission, just solve mystery of why Slug's in head and not transforming you. And past that, save the world. Essentially, is from
Sounds good.
From the illithids. So it's like, yeah.
We talked about last time a little bit, and I heard some people talk about this on the podcast, on different podcasts, and I thought it was a really good point in that in a game that has so much choice and so much like stuff everywhere to do, I love the fact that like the driving force of this game is that you have a thing in your head and you're trying to get rid of it. Like it's the simplest like main story beat that possibly can exist to allow everything else to be so powerful, and that it's not like let's open this grand huge thing and you got 10 different characters you're introduced to in the first 5 seconds and you got to know all these different things. It's just like I gotta get this thing out of my head.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
You want to get that thing out of your head too, right? Let's party up and figure it out together. That just makes sense.
Yeah. It's like nice and simple, and I appreciate that.
Exactly. And you forget pretty quick about the thing being in your head. It's the main part of the story, but you're doing so much else that it's like, I can't concentrate on that right now because I'm trying to survive.
I got to save this person.
I got to save this person. I got to
these people from hating each other and
save this village because maybe they can help me get this worm out of my head. Who knows? And you also have the capability of either holding back and trying to just like survive with what you have, or you can, at whatever risk you want to, like power up the worm in your head to like kind of embrace it and become more, I guess, use more powers based on your psychic abilities.
Yeah.
You don't ever have to do that, but that's an option that you have too, is like, let me embrace this.
Embrace the darkness.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're like, how's that going to
it?
No, I did not, because I was scared of what it was going to do. I didn't know what it was going to do to me. And so
I got 2 of the powers. One was I can dash forward and push enemies back, or I can get in the middle of enemies and then have a circle that I push back. So I was also on the bridge, and I was like, and I killed like 3 enemies at once, which was nice.
That's what's really cool too, because it's kind of like a basic, not a hidden class, but it's like a different class you're playing altogether because you're using those abilities instead of your main class abilities. So it's like if you want to just embrace the tadpole, do it. Like if you want to play that
I
way,
didn't know that each of your companions can use those powers. So you find tadpoles over time, and you can give them all to yourself, or you can spread it amongst your people.
Yeah, they're not going to want to, but you can persuade them to do it. It's like, come on,
take
for the
its
greater
powers
good.
and it helps level you up.
Yeah, so you're basically like eating other worms.
Spread it out.
Yeah.
You get one, and you get one.
We all have worms.
That's right. So you think that the story does a good job of like progressing through the acts and creating this feeling of urgency and like
I think
heroism.
So, especially as you start like getting towards the end of acts. Act 2 like really had a profound effect on me, where I was like, this is amazing. I haven't played a game with a story this strong in so long that it just felt really refreshing and challenging in the right kind of way, and just like rewarding after I was able to progress past that point. And then full of surprise, because I didn't look anything up, so I didn't know what was going to happen next. And I'm like, oh man, that is insane that this is like what the next part's going to be. And then it's like, okay, well, how's this going to go? And it's just figuring it out as you go. And that's the fun part for me, the surprise of it.
So do you have a good ending or a bad ending?
I had a good ending, I think. Yeah. I would say
is
overall
it,
good ending.
Does it tie up all loose ends, or is it just like, hey, you did the thing?
Yay.
I think it tied up most loose ends. The only loose ends I would say I had was like one of my companions was affected greatly at the end of this in a way that some could perceive as good or bad. I'm going to be really vague there. One of them was killed completely as part of the story, but it's not going to be the same person for everybody who's playing through it. I don't know if it's how it's randomized or whatever, how this party thing happens, but you'll probably lose a different party member than I did. And like I was saying earlier, like I had a party member just up and leave because she didn't like the choices I was making at a certain point. And it's like, well, I guess I have to accept that.
I guess,
Yeah.
And you can also sleep with everything, and everything wants to sleep with you. I want to add that. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. If they come back to your camp at a certain point, they're gonna try to seduce you.
Yeah.
And you can accept what you want to do with that.
You could be level 1 and they still want you. You don't have to be powerful.
Yeah, but they'll think you're powerful, and you're like, you just go with it.
Powerful in your pants.
As long as I don't catch anything, I'm good.
I've been through.
Well, you've already got worms.
Oh yeah, well, there that is. I'll just spread them.
Yeah.
By the way,
That
I have
works
worms.
Great, me too.
Oh
Yeah, this is very well could get game of the year. Like I almost have no doubt at this point, as much as I think.
are we going to stream it this Tuesday since I purchased it?
Yeah, we can.
We should.
Wait, so I have a question because I've asked you this, Austin.
Yes.
I think you were not sure yet, but maybe you changed your mind now. But you guys have talked about your love of Tears of the Kingdom, and that came out this year as well.
Yes.
I know this is a very different game.
Yes.
But if you were to qualify right now between the two of them, which one would win your vote? Like, what are you leaning on? Tears of the Kingdom or Baldur's Gate 3 for your game of the year?
If these were the only two options.
Yeah.
For right now.
It would definitely be Baldur's Gate 3 for me. Like Tears of the Kingdom, I bounced off of because like it was fun at first and it was very novel. Like it had an interesting novelty to it, but it got repetitive to me after a while to where I was like, I don't want to build a cart to go here. I don't want to carry this goblin over to his friend, whatever. Like, I don't know. It just got boring to me. That's just a me thing. I know it's a great game.
Happy.
It can be boring. It can. I agree.
But it just the story wasn't compelling enough for me to continue through it.
So what is your game of the year so far with all the games you played?
It's got to be BG3, Baldur's Gate 3 for sure. And that's not to say there weren't other great games. I really want to play Remnant 2. And we were talking about that earlier. And I don't know if y'all talked about that on the last podcast or whatever. Okay, so I need to listen to that one. But that one's one I really want to play. I was going to, but then Baldur's Gate 3 interrupted my life.
Right.
And has become my free time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I would say it's Baldur's Gate 3, just because of all the instances that you can create these stories. Like, we had this interesting battle that barely got out of alive, and that's going to stick with me for a while. And just how much content's in here, and that I can play with three other people, and it's like, okay, this is going to be great. All the different classes. Yeah.
For now.
For now.
This is the closest to playing D&D with your friends digitally that I have ever seen, I think.
Yep.
There are some other good games out there like Wildermyth that has a very, it's got a great mode to it to where you're playing D&D-ish stuff with friends. You craft your own kind of campaign stuff. But this one's just so vast that you can really have a lot of fun with friends. And your story is going to be completely different than your solo story probably. So that's where it's really exciting.
And what I really like about it too is like it's a very dense game with a lot of mechanics you have to figure out very quickly. But because it is built in the D&D world, having come from playing D&D, it's all familiar. It's like I've played a sorcerer. The sorcerer has my twin spells, my meta magic, all that stuff that I'm used to. It's got my shield that Travis hates as a DM.
Yep.
Like all that stuff exists here, and I love that I can just jump into. Like I played a barbarian on D&D. I played a monk in D&D. I've now played a warlock on here, but it's like I get how this all works. So having come from a D&D background, like this makes the complexities that would normally pull me away from a game accessible because it's just like I know it, I get it.
Kind of on that note, I always play a ranger just because I like it.
Right.
I can stay back on tabletop D&D, and I like what they do. But now being able to branch out and try different things, like your companion, who's the barbarian tiefling, like it's really cool. Like I made her a spell rage, or she has a spell rage. So when she rages,
so she
gets a random
barbarian.
a spell.
Oh, that's cool.
And one of them is she can teleport anywhere she wants to, or when you in your rage, you just like an explosion, or you can summon this one thing that's like a jellyfish thing, and it will explode next to whoever you summon it by. So I was like, what?
That's awesome. Like a wild magic sorcerer, where as you cast spells, like the higher level spell you cast or whatever, there's a chance of some random other magic thing happening as you cast, but it could be good or bad. Like maybe you'll light your friends on fire, or maybe you'll blow up the whole enemy team. It's like a risk reward type thing, just to have that wild magic going on. Something. Cool. Yeah, God, what else was I going to say? I have so many thoughts on this game. Continue talking though, Austin.
But that's it. It's like I never would have known that this was possible if I didn't have this game.
Yeah,
because I like the Ranger for what it is, but man,
and I think like the main reason why I want to get this game is because like I miss D&D. I miss like playing D&D with the friends and all that. Yeah. But now we have friends that are like out of state, out of town, and stuff like that. So we can't get together like this. Yeah. And then like whenever COVID happened, that was hard to get people around and get back together. I think this is a good balance where I can still get that feeling again and not be around you guys, because I don't want to be around you guys that much. So
I understand
exactly.
And I will say
stay at home in your underwear.
My underwear would be fine.
And stop coming over here in your underwear and naked.
Yeah,
it's great.
And this does look visually a lot better than Roll20, not gonna lie. So it's got some pretty good looking visuals.
What's really cool is like in the same way in D&D, if you just want to be like a flute master and like that's how you go through your battles, you can do that in this. Like become a bard, have a flute, and just be like
in the bushes.
my performance. You just be like, my performance is so good.
It's like Evil Dead.
That no one will kill me because I'm just entertaining them all. If you're a bard and you're in town playing music, people will give you tips because if you're passing your performance test, because people are like, man, this guy's awesome. They'll come dance around you and just give you money. So there's just so many different ways you can play this. Yeah, exactly. They're tossing you lots of coins.
Well, I'm very excited.
Yeah,
I'll probably
it's
start up my character tonight if I.
good shit, man.
So you can be a
So
rogue, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna be rogue.
Nice.
I love playing as a rogue.
So with rogue, you can be a thief, an arcane trickster, which is like a magical type rogue, or an assassin, which is just great at ambushing and starting battles.
That's probably
basically.
the one I'm going with. This assassin.
Assassin Ducky makes sense. Yeah.
Tell you.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. Baldur's Gate 3.
Game of the year.
I feel like you could talk hours more on this game, but it's definitely well deserving. Larian Studios, they've continued to put out masterpieces after Divinity Original Sin 2. Such a great game. Went into the game that they loved and grew up on, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and they were like, we're going to make a Baldur's Gate. And they made a Baldur's Gate. It is so good, and we highly recommend everybody pick it up. This is, what, $60 game? So I think on
60.
Steam.
Yep.
$60 game with
just
enough
purchased it, sorry.
content. Like, it's amazing. I just can't believe that there's so much content in here. It's
I mean, I
insane.
can't wait till people start modding it. Like, I bet, well, I don't know if they do that. I was like, I can imagine people like creating their own worlds. And
That's
putting
what
it in
I'm
here.
hoping for. Like Baldur's Gate 4 is like you can pull these NPCs out and like create your own storyline and your own
That would
path.
be
And
awesome.
you can actually run it almost like a Evil Dead, the game where you're like playing as the spirit, but you can just go around and follow these your characters. Well, follow other people's characters and just start throwing stuff out.
And that'd be the next
That'd be
step.
Well,
cool.
supposedly the D&D team is doing that right now. They're making a 3D engine.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's supposed to be like, where you can make like your own, but obviously it's not going to have as much good control as this, but
Yeah.
you'll still have 3D environments so you can like put your players in it.
And you don't have to make a nude mod for it because everybody can be naked in this game.
That's true.
At the beginning, you choose
How did
the
they
size
know?
of your genitals.
oh my God.
Or not the size, I'm sorry. You
Don't
choose
sweep.
the
There's
type.
6 different penises and there's 3 different vulvas, okay?
He's running at me with a
Look,
club. That's
I
his
was-
dick.
Yeah.
I made my Dragonborn Paladin, and I looked at it, and it's like, oh, I have a dick. I have a scaly dick. I didn't realize that they would have a dick. I thought they'd just be, like all lizards and not have that.
Have a penis.
Yeah,
How are you supposed to make
Or
love,
vagina.
Austin?
That's right.
I have a tail for those who want.
Wow.
Good stuff. So that's Baldur's Gate 3. Larian Studios, killing it. Love it. So good.